One of the things I love about Harley Quinn is the sense of fun about her. She's a bad girl and she knows it. The ability to let loose and just unapologetically be who she is one of the things that appeals to me most about Harley. She is deeply flawed, and that also makes her more relatable like Batman. However, whether Harley is crazy or not, she is eccentric, vulnerable and easily led. Unlike the Joker, who is a deadly kind of dangerous and playful, Harley is a more fun and sexy kind of danger that seems appealing, but Harley can fluctuate from playful to deadly in a heartbeat. In this article we'll take a look at Harley Quinn's history, her relationship with the Joker and her exploding popularity from niche background character to mainline DC icon. We'll also take a look at some of her exciting outfits, and see how she is portrayed across various media such as comics, cartoons and video games. Harley Quinn was the creation of Batman writer Paul Dini. She first appeared in Batman, the animated series in 1992. Harley eventually became so popular that she was included in the mainline Batman comic books, went on to star in several of her own comic book titles and started appearing in video games such as Batman Arkham Asylum and Injustice, Gods Among Us. Harley also appeared in the DC Superhero Girls Kids show and has had a lot of action figures, statues and other merchandise bearing her likeness. More recently, Harley Quinn appeared in the Suicide Squad movie played by Margot Robbie, exploding her popularity even more. Don't cry for me, Pamela Isley. Harley is forever in this abusive relationship with the Joker, and while it's sad and horrible, it's a whirlwind Bonnie and Clyde gangster romance. She loves him and can't get away from him. It's very true to life, where some battered and abused women refuse to leave their husbands and will run back to them at the first opportunity. In Batman the Animated Series, 1992, and the graphic novel tie-in Mad Love by Paul Dini, the Joker treats Harley poorly, kicks her out frequently only for her to come crawling back even when she did nothing wrong. There is no denying that Harley is attracted to danger and chaos. It's all fun and games to her, but she is also like that which she finds most attractive. As a rule breaker and agent of chaos, there is no predicting on any day whether Harley Quinn will help or harm someone. Harley also has no real focus in life, and is often easily led or manipulated by others. Characters such as the Joker, Catwoman or Batman regularly manipulate Quinn for their own purposes. In the Gotham City Sirens comic book series, Catwoman and Poison Ivy are a positive influence on Harley, questioning her undying loyalty to the clown who keeps treating her so bad. We see the first instances of Harley questioning her own blind love for the Joker and need/infatuation for her abusive lover. This later leads into more solo Harley Quinn stories, and eventually to her second main ongoing solo book in the New 52 imprint of DC. The Nouvelle. In the New 52 branded DC books, Harley Quinn got another solo title, and this is where Harley is defiantly on her own, a single gal, and really gets to be her own character, free of not only the Joker's shadow, but the Batman family of comics and characters, thanks to being in her own title. Her previous solo comic book was still basically tied into the Batman family of books. New 52 Harley Quinn is a rising star, sitting on the comic book store shelves, freed of any Batman branding, logos or tie-ins. Freed of the pattern of her reactions to both the Joker and Batman, and with the influence of Ivy, Catwoman and other gal pals, not to mention encounters with the wider DC Universe community, Harley for the first time is forced to question her own motivations, character and ethos. This used to be my playground. New 52 Harley takes on a more goth punk aesthetic, and also classical bad girl look of the 40s and 50s comics, a more sexualized look that is designed to provoke a reaction, but at the same time affirms she is who she is. Harley doesn't wear crazy, weird and overly revealing outfits just to titillate, well maybe a little, but because that is what she feels comfortable in. It's an expression of her personality and of the Harlequin archetype. Harley embraces her bad girl aesthetic, and has crazy adventures while seemingly moving into anti-heroine territory. In the wild and woolly, and sometimes pornographic, world of fan art, imagination is set loose, and one meme of fan art that is often repeated is Harley romantically linked with Deadpool. Harley and Deadpool make sense thematically, they share similar costume colors and are both crazy, but ultimately fun-loving genuine weirdos who really can't help but be who they are. They just don't fit in our world. And it's a good thing, they are both maniacs. Apart from existing in different fictional worlds, they are too similar to have any sort of actual relationship. But it's a fun meme, and for that purpose it works well. The New 52 Harley Quinn stories are very similar in tone, style and pattern to the early Joe Kelly solo Deadpool stories that really define Deadpool as the lovable, goofy, demented idiot we all know and love. The skewed morality, or lack of it, makes for fun reading. The Joe Kelly Deadpool run is where Deadpool went from being a really generic, boring bad guy with a cool costume, to having the most obnoxious and funny personality in the Marvel Universe. The birth of wisecracking Deadpool is partly a riff on Spider-Man, who used to be the funny guy, but has not been the least bit funny in decades. Deadpool's costume also is a riff on Spider-Man's costume right down to the eyes, layout and colors. Express yourself. Both Harley and Deadpool are selfish, mostly amoral villains, but despite their nature, keep helping people, and listening to others who encourage them not to just mindlessly kill people. A distinction here is that Deadpool is a well-paid assassin, who will accept just about any contract, usually children are the exception. Whereas Harley is a nutcase who kills when it is convenient, and it's often glossed over whether she actually kills someone, or just kidnaps and incapacitates them, etc. New 52 Harley actively tries to help people. When her roller derby term loses and then Harley maims the opposing team members so they can't win, well, it's Harley's naive and twisted way of thinking that she is helping. Harley and Deadpool are kind of like kids who grow up with abusive parents, or no parents at all. The people they have imprinted on have largely been bad people, criminals, cons, murderers, assassins and psychos, etc. Despite these influences, there is something good underneath in both of these characters that comes through in certain stories, leaving them neither truly villains, nor heroes, but walking a murky moral middle ground. If you've seen Spike on the Buffy show, he's another example of a character with a shady past constantly walking a fine line between good and evil. Likewise, fellow Suicide Squad alumni Deadshot is a villainous assassin, seemingly without morals, who conveniently misses targets when it suits him too. Early in the New 52 run, Harleen Quinzel sees a patient as a psychologist, an elderly lady who complains her family don't visit her. Harley turns up at their house with a bulldozer, knocks the wall down, kidnaps and threatens to kill them if they don't visit their grandmother more often. Turns out the old lady had memory issues and the loving family already visits 3 times a week. So Harley's help is often more harmful than if she had just done nothing. A similar theme runs through the early Kelly Deadpool stories, and it's this cheeky fun-loving style that really makes the New 52 Harley stories a fun read. It's these kinds of misadventures that make Harley question why she should even attempt to do good in the world, when her trying to be good often ends up being worse behavior than her everyday bad behavior. This similarity to the classic Joe Casey Deadpool stories is one of the things that pisses some Harley fans off. For them it's too similar and lazy, no longer authentically the Harley Quinn that they know and love. Others in another camp enjoy the stories for their difference, and then there are newer younger fans who only know the more modern version of Quinn and are not very familiar with her older stories, so the comparison is just not relevant. Chances are that if you love New 52 Harley stories, you'll most likely love the early Kelly Deadpool stories. Speaking of bad dudes, in the New 52 Suicide Squad comic, Harley has a fling with Deadshot, and even the notoriously brave, who gives a fuck devil may care Deadshot pauses to stop and ask if the Joker will not try and kill him. Isn't Harley Joker's girl? Harley fucks Deadshot, and while it's a throwaway moment, another wild impulse from a serial risk-taking thrill seeker, it's also a final nail in the coffin of her relationship with her ex. It's a gimmick scene for sure, but also another step along the path of Harley being free of the Joker and the Batman family of books. Suicide Blonde. In the Suicide Squad movie, for the first time we see a Joker-Harley relationship where he actually loves and cares for her, rather than just tolerates and abuses her as in all former versions of these characters. It's unclear whether the film was edited that way on purpose, as there is evidence that the film did contain, at least in some drafts, the classic love/hate Joker and Harley abusive relationship. Whether that version of the film was just one idea in the mix, or somebody stepped in and cut those parts out? Who knows? I feel the film is better for it. Rumor has it that the Suicide Squad may get a sequel, and Harley Quinn may get a solo film, and then Gotham Girls is also in the mix. Whether we will get 1 or 3 films is anybody's guess. I'd like to hope so, but I think it's more likely we will get 1 or 2 films at most, rather than 3 films so early with Harley. It would seem to me like overexposure, unless they really staggered the release dates. Crazy for you. Harley Quinn was introduced as a sidekick, lover and victim of the Joker, their relationship played up for laughs. But there is no denying that the Joker is verbally, physically and psychologically abusive to Harley, something easy to miss in a kid's cartoon such as Batman Animated, or the tie-in comic books for kids. As Harley became integrated into the official DC universe through Batman-related books, making the leap from TV screen to comic book page, she also was spun off into other titles including The Suicide Squad, her own ongoing book and various miniseries. Harley became more of an independent character. She breaks up with the Joker, and for the first time we see her develop as a character, being more than just a symbiotic love/hate on again/off again Joker relationship in Batman Animated. She goes from being just a plot device or background character, to her own more fully developed character. From the object of she to DC icon Harley Quinn. In Batman Animated, Harley would often leave the Joker, or be kicked out by him forcefully, only to inevitably go running back to him like a battered spouse. Harley's integration into the wider DCU meant that when she left the Joker once again, she actually had somewhere to go, other than the confines of the TV show, or just the narrow panel borders of the Batman-branded comic books. Eventually Harley landed in her own books, with some mad but fun stories from various writers and artists, with Harley as a reluctant anti-heroine, who can't help helping people, despite her best intentions to be selfish and a very bad girl. Harley Quinn was further cemented as a wider DC Universe character when she appeared in the big-budget Batman Arkham Asylum video game series, again written by her creator Paul Dini. While Harley reverted to her Batman animated status as the Joker's Gangster Moll once more people play video games than read comics, so the widespread exposure helped for the move into more of Quinn's own comic books, and wider DC media exposure including licensed toys. Crazy about the Bat. Harley also has a love/hate relationship with the Batman himself. It's not a romantic or sexual thing. If anything, Batman is one of the more stable influences in her life, and depending on who is writing the story, Batman can be her personal villain/tormentor, or a father-like figure who tries to forgive her and encourage her to give up the life of crime she has fallen into. Batman believes in the good side of Harley, but Harley inevitably rebels against all types of authority like a rebellious teenager. The other key relationship Harley has in the DCU is with Poison Ivy/Pamela Isley. The two have been good friends since the days of Batman the Animated Series, and that friendship has continued into other media and Harley's solo books. Harley and Ivy are very affectionate friends, but whether it's a more sisterly bond or if Harley is bisexual and has been more involved with Poison Ivy off-panel and between the sheets, we don't really know. But it's something that is hinted at in various stories, but it's left up to the reader's imagination. That doesn't stop the writers from having fun with their hints. Strike a pose. Further expanding Harley as a multimedia entity has been the vast volume of merchandise proving popular with both male and female fans. Harley being featured in the alternative reality comic book series Injustice, Gods Among Us, and the much-hyped video game of the same name saw Harley's exposure grow even more outside of her Batman/Joker origins. Action figures large and small, with many variants based on her different artistic interpretations across different media, significantly helped Harley to become a more iconic character in a relatively short period of time, with her various appearances proving popular with hardcore collectors and casual fans. If you go on eBay, you'll find Harley action figures, kids' costumes, and even more adult lingerie type stuff. Some of it official, some of it bootleg by the looks of it. You know Quinn has achieved a certain type of mass popularity when she's even getting bootleg merchandise appearing on eBay. Licensed merchandise and mainstream movies tend to grow a character faster in pop culture than just comics or animation alone. Once Harley reached critical mass with her appearance in the Suicide Squad movie, she had gone as mainstream as it gets in her appeal. Her appeal is also multi-generational, with products targeted at different age demographics. Harley has grown to be more than just a twisted freak. Her public persona is one of fun, sexiness, and devil may care don't fuck with me can do attitude. Harley is a fun fantasy character who comes from a background of animation, leapt into the mainline Batman comics, became part of the wider DC universe, took part in company yearly gimmick events, got loads of toys made, moved on to several solo books, became part of the roster in a fighting video game, and back into animation again as part of the kids show DC Superhero Girls. Her spin-off merch, cosplays, fan art, and now big screen movie action sees her star continue to rise, and she's a character that appeals to both male and female fans. Some of the Harley-themed clothing items you may find on eBay. Fuck you, I won't do what you tell me. There is a certain punk rock appeal to Harley that makes her appealing to many fans. She's alternative, but not in a market-driven way. Harley got there organically through many costume changes and various writers. Her personality has been pretty consistent in the 25 years she has been around. Yes, the youthful Harley is already a quarter-century old in the comic book world. Few writers have done anything terribly interesting with the character. Her creator Paul Dini has made the biggest mark on the character, with other writers doing their version of his character, or some alternative version with minor differences such as the Amanda Connor, Palmiotti Harley stories. Harley Quinn costumes over the years. Art by Lady Dead Quinn, http://ladydeadquinn.deviantart.com. Classy Halloween costumes. Harley's incorporation into the kids' show DC Superhero Girls and its toy line sees a more age-appropriate version of the character marketed to youngsters. It's a common tactic these days from the big two to have multiple versions of their characters in each target demographic age group. That's why you can find tiny versions of Bane or the Joker from Batman suitable for 5-year-olds in stores, even though those characters are horrible killers. It's a little at odds with her core character and values to see Harley Quinn lined up with a bunch of true blue superheroes, and call me cynical, but it's clearly DC looking at the successful line of Disney princess dolls, Barbie dolls, and their multimedia products that DC have done their version of that. Which is fine, they are cool toys frankly. I'm a bit weirded out by the heroin chic skinny dolls with bobbleheads inspiring new generations to bodied xenomorphia, but other than that they look cool. I almost bought the Harley Quinn doll, it's been at my local shops a long time, but found it a little too creepy looking to put on my shelf. You kind of have to ignore the characters and realize it's more these are generic characters wearing the costumes of the iconic characters. The personality and character is really not there. Still, the DC Superhero Girls show and its tie-in comics are decent, if bland and generic, fun for kids, not as exciting as say the Powerpuff Girls, one of my all-time favorite TV shows, but it is nice that kids can enjoy a version of these characters where the girls are the stars, rather than second fiddle to the usual majority male cast of the DC universe in print and on the big screen. It's a bland show, but it's colorful and stars female characters in the lead, so I'm all for it, even though it's inoffensively bland rather than the well-written all-ages hit that I wish it was, like the original Powerpuff Girls. CHCHCH changes, turn and face the strange. Harley Quinn's playful and often sexual nature had made her very popular with adult cosplayers. A quick online search reveals many well-conceived and implemented costumed variants, including post-apocalyptic and steampunk Harley Quinn cosplay. Harley is also very popular in pro and fan art, both by herself or featured as a couple with the Joker or Poison Ivy. Her licensed toys have really taken off with versions of just about every costume and era represented in the toy lines. Harley's looks have alternated from her full-body 1600s-inspired Harlequin costume to more flesh-revealing gothic, kink, fetish and lingerie-inspired outfits, the first most significant departure from the original full-body costume appearing in the Arkham Asylum video games. Depending on the media, each of those designs cross-pollinates, giving us new hybrid designs that link past, present and future Harley either visually or thematically. The most consistent motifs are the red/black playing card diamond pattern and colors, blonde hair, which is sometimes dyed into other colors, and the general theme of the costume and role of the Harlequin popularized in European plays during the 1600s. Sometimes we see Harley in regular clothes, in her civilian identity as Harleen Quinzel, former head shrinker, but not very often. Her identity is well known to anybody and everybody in the superhero community. In Batman, Arkham Asylum, the game, not the graphic novel by Grant Morrison, gone was her full-body comical Harlequin outfit. Replaced with tight leather pants, smeared black eye makeup took the place of her domino mask, while Harley's hair was dyed in the colors that were formerly on her costume, and her domino mask is gone, replaced with makeup to mimic the same basic look. While showing more skin is not really a sign of character development, some of Harley's stories do fit with her risk-tasking provocative personality. Harley was always an explicitly sexual, dangerous character, even if it was not so obvious in the Batman animated show. When Harley falls for someone or something, her mad passion fixates on that character. Whether it's her relationship with the Joker, anger at Batman or infatuation with Pamela Isley, Harley overly fixates on whatever her manic attention span allows her to. Some scenes in Batman animated were toned down from their original scripts, to keep in line with standards for children's television. But there was never any doubt of Paul Dini's intentions in creating the character, which was to be in a very specific style. Harley is like a rock star groupie, and the Joker is always on tour in her mind, so the party never ends. When Batman, Arkham Asylum was released, many fans and game reviewers were rather surprised by Harley's new look, which has an undeniable S&M feel to it, and many game reviewers and fans commented that she looked like a streetwalker. Those comments were mostly not meant in any negative way, but more as genuine surprise that game developers, artists went with such a bold depiction that offered a strong contrast to her previous costume. But to be frank, Batman is wearing a black full-body fetish-looking costume, and superheroes and their costumes are fetishistic by their very nature. Come on, how many of them wear their underwear on the outside? That's just kinky by its nature. We have just gotten so used to seeing their costumes in mass media that we take it for granted. More important than any specific costume alone for Harley is agency. How does she interact with her world? Is the story about her, or is she just background in a story? With her solo books, there is no doubt Harley is calling the shots, while the traditional Batman books have her more as a background character. Harley's role mixes it up depending on what kind of story she is in. As a trickster and a wild card, she fits in just about anywhere. She can play both heel and face, often in the same story. In the recent animated movie Batman and Harley Quinn, Harley even goes against her Fanfanru Poison Ivy, choosing to die with Batman when Ivy and the Floronic Man try to end the world with the plant apocalypse. Spoiler alert, Harley doesn't die, and helps save the day. Good luck in your new band. To Paul Dini's credit, he enjoys the different contrasting versions of Harley that have popped up in new media. Dini has given several long-form interviews on various podcast shows, and he is quite vocal in his support of the diverse range of artistic interpretations of Harley in comics and other media. It's not every day that someone can create a character in the Batman universe that sticks around. And it's even more rare to create a modern character who moves beyond their source material to find new audiences and new media outgrowing the limited line of Batman books. We aim to misbehave. While Harley has become a more overtly sexual, more extreme risk-taking character, she is still basically the same character. I was skeptical of this direction at first after the more chaste classic version of Harley I was familiar with seemingly went away for good. It seemed that DC was turning Harley into another disempowered stupid female character who just pointlessly runs around in her underwear for the fanboys, and has no real story to tell. But having read a significant amount of both old school and modern Harley Quinn stories, most of what DC have done with the character fits very well. The thing about Harlequins and clowns and performance art, is to continually fuck with the audience, and keep them guessing about what are the true intentions of this performance. A good showman or showgirl never reveals their secrets. With Harley, it feels like she is somewhat of a chameleon like Joker, or David Bowie or Madonna, going through different looks, different eras that refract society's norms and then go off in strange unpredictable directions. Partly as artistic expression, partly to fuck with the audience and be a provocateur. It's the call of an artist to follow their muse, and Harley expresses herself through wild outfits and outrageous behavior. She's a punk rock risk-taking teenager who never grew up, doesn't give a damn what anybody thinks, and that is a big part of her appeal. She knows like poison ivy that men find her irresistible, and uses that as leverage to get what she wants, but that can also backfire on her with characters like Batman who see through the shtick. Harley is also somewhat genuinely naive, despite her high overall intelligence, with a childlike innocence that people find endearing. Harley's various looks are also a callback to another era, that of the Golden Age comics and pulp stories that featured costumed femme fatales that preceded the typical superheroes and typical JLA types. These pulp characters were often sexy, dark or extreme. Like them, Harley as an image is a fetishized object. Unlike them, Harley does not have a secret identity and pretty much everybody knows who she is. She has a certain kind of fame and notoriety in the DC universe. Like other performance artists, Harley takes the iconography of femme fatales, harlequins and more, and she owns that behavior, makes it her own and uses it to express herself. Harley likes to dress up and be provocative, and she has a lot of fun being a silly, sexy mischief maker. Whether Quinn can be called a genuinely empowered bad girl with her punk attitude bucking of social norms, or a more deliberate marketed femme fatale with her increasingly more revealing outfits designed to appeal to men, I can't say definitively one way or another. Harley is a character of contrast who defies simple categorization, and that is something that works in her favor. Harley plays at being crazy, but really she's more manic and impulsive than anything. At times she has managed to restrain herself from doing something regrettable, but more often she gives in to her wild impulses, and follows her gut instincts. Harley remains an interesting and intriguing character with some surprising depth to her that is not obvious to the casual viewer. Like the Joker, you can't really define Harley or keep her pinned down. She defies categorization, and constantly changes her look, keeping people guessing. Living on the edge. On one level, Harley is a fun, silly, sexy manic character who is as funny as she is unpredictable. Harley refuses to be a boring good girl, as she knows it's way more fun to be bad and express herself, and damn the consequences. In this way she is a throwback to early pulp femme fatales, the daredevils and risk-takers of yesteryear who often had secret identities to protect their wild antics and were synonymous with sexual yearning, and the expressing of normal human desires often suppressed in a patriarchal society, so that even normal human expression becomes some kind of kink or perversion. One big problem with female characters in fiction, particularly North American comic books, is that women are often there solely as plot devices. Just to be the token girlfriend to the main hero, as a one-dimensional placeholder figure. There are various actions, reactions and attempts to write around this issue, but often male-dominated cinema, film and comics have poorly written inauthentic female characters that misrepresent the other half of the population. It is a constant challenge to not make horrible shit like that in comics books when it's the norm. When any half-decent new female character comes along, there is always the risk of them being pigeonholed into some crappy archetype we are already familiar with, instead of letting them grow organically down their own path. While the merchandise side of the Harley Quinn empire is very deliberate, to me the character has been allowed to grow beyond her roots, and at least some of that merch is because fans really wanted it. The show must go on. Harley Quinn is fun, sweet, sexy and silly. She's also manic and unpredictable, an impulsive hedonistic freak, and incredibly dangerous. What I love about the character is that she is someone who says it's okay to be an outsider, a rebel, a weirdo, a misfit, and to have fun being who you are. While her outfits fluctuate from full-body suits to showing a lot of skin, she defies the usual beauty standards. While Harley is undeniably hot, the way she dresses is about as unconventional as it gets, her various looks incorporating elements of goth, punk, grunge, circus, harlequin, prostitutes and retro comic book femme fatales. It makes sense Quinn is a popular cosplay, as there are so many options to mix and choose from. While some female comic book characters come across as borderline exploitative, Harley has owned her risque behavior, looks and attitudes from day one. As messed up as she is, she's not afraid to be who she is. Part of what makes villains, anti-heroes and anti-heroines so much fun is that they let out all the stuff we norms keep repressed and bottled up. They let their freak flag fly in a form of fiction we can find socially acceptable. The beginning of the end. Harley has proved enduringly popular. From multiple video games to cosplays to fan art, 2 decades of comic books, animation, toys and now her first official live-action movie appearance, she was rumored to be first featured back in the 90s Schumacher Batman films, statues, clothing, Halloween costumes, a role in a kids' TV show. It seems there is no stopping Harley Quinn's rising popularity. She's in just about every media and form you can think of. Harley also got her own starring role in another DC animated original feature, Batman and Harley Quinn. Batman's name may come first for marketing purposes, but make no mistake, Harley is the star of this animated movie.